Okay, everybody, welcome back to My Classic Fords. I'm Gordon Best, and we're still working on the Jag. I'm going to be working on this for quite a while, as you can tell. If you're new to the channel, it's probably the shortest Jaguar you've ever seen. I cut it in half, took 29 inches out, pulled it back together. I just want to start off by saying a couple things. I am quite tired tonight. So I'm not setting out any big goals to get done tonight. I think doing this, in like less than a week is a pretty good accomplishment. I do work a full-time job during the day. I come home. I got 2 kids and a puppy and a darling wife. I come home, we put the kids to bed, and I have the evenings to come out and work on this project. I'm just telling you that so you get a heads up. I need a little rest tonight, so I'm just going to take it easy. I think I kind of deserve it, I think I've earned it. So, to get to the comments in the video, one guy mentioned, a girl, I'm sure it was a guy, I don't remember. Somebody mentioned about a lapel mic, so I got myself one, so I hope this improves the sound for you. Also, somebody asked me about drawing a picture of the car and giving them an idea kind of what I'm going for. So I'll gladly do that for you this evening as well. I'll just try to tell you a little bit of what we're doing or what I'm doing. I say we all the time. Obviously I took 29 inches out of it. I pulled the car up. The car is just sitting here right now. It is not tacked together. I haven't done any critical dimensions with it yet. I've just been pulling it back and forth, kind of deciding what I want to do, how I want to go about welding it together. This is my first car that I've ever customized, certainly this in depth. I do a lot of heavy metal fabrication. I work at a fairly large steel shop. I am a welder and fitter by profession. This is something new out of the ballpark for me to do something, there's no drawings, there's no blueprints. This is all in my head. I'm telling you this just so you got an idea what I'm up to, but we are going to get into doing a little more critical dimension stuff before we tack it, and I'd like to tackle that tonight. So I guess what I'll do first is try to explain the car to you. So we took a 76 Jag XJ12, and I really like the Daytona Coupe. That's one of my favorite cars. I'm never going to be able to afford one. I mean, through the roof. I want to be into this car for less than $5,000 with a freshly rebuilt small block Ford. Is it doable? I don't know, but I'm going to try. Meanwhile, I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. And I've decided that as I'm going on this project, I was going to copy a Daytona Coupe. And I'm still going for that look. As you can tell, you're going to be sitting basically on the rear end, which is kind of neat. We're going to slope this roof from about here. I looked at the pictures of the Daytona. This part of the roof's almost flat, which is great. I'm not going to disturb this pillar. I'm going to leave it flat. From about here, I'm going to slope that down to here, as well as taper it in like this. I haven't decided. The Daytona's all window back here. I sort of thought about leaving a short 10-inch trunk and then just putting a fixed window in it. Haven't decided. Well, we'll get to that. I want to puff these fenders out a little bit. If you watch one of the other videos, I had an aftermarket wheel on here. These ones are underneath the car. They're tucked in the fenders. I want to pull them out. So my wheels that I got are like 4 inches wider. So they stick out a couple inches. So I want to make this fender a little fatter and just give it kind of a bubble look here. Just enough to add a little bit of character, nothing too extreme. I don't want great big flares on or nothing. She's not a mud truck or anything. At the front of the car, I'm going to stretch it. If I had another one of these cars, I think I would actually leave it like this. It's really kind of cool. One guy mentioned about it possibly being a convertible, so I can definitely see that. This car would look really cool if you mowed all this stuff off, left the windshield, left a pillar here in your door, like a little vent window, just to give it a little bit of character. And then you put like a nice stainless bar back here, like the old Cobras. Car would look pretty neat. Like, it would look kind of cool. That's not what I'm doing to this one, though. I am still going with the Daytona style. So that's my rough plan for the back. And I am going to cut the back. I am going to cut the back on that slope, just like the Daytona. That being said, right now, the original wheelbase was 113 inches. I took 29 inches out, so it's 84 inches now. I need to add 6 inches back to the car to make it the same wheelbase as a Daytona. That 6 inches is right here. So this needs to be cut, and I need to push that ahead 6 inches. If that doesn't look quite proportional, I'm willing to go out a little bit more, just because. And then once we get into the front of the car, I don't really necessarily care for these fender flares. So I'm thinking what I want to do is just taper the fender into that flare from about here all the way around. At the same time, I'd like to keep this rib on the fender. I actually really like that backbone. So I'm thinking when I extend these, I actually want to bump the top of the fender up, say about 3 inches. Come from here, come up 3 inches, and then I want to drop the headlights in the front 3 inches lower than original. And I'm actually thinking I would like to keep close to the stock front end that it currently has. The 4 headlights are pretty unique. And when you pull it up somewhere, somebody's going to ask, is that a Jag? Is that a Jaguar? And I think that part will be fun, explaining out that, well, yeah, it is an XJ12, sort of. So the grill is going to completely change. I'm taking the grill out. It's going to be no front bumper. I want to slam the front end down a little bit, make it a little more aerodynamic. Not for anything particular, just looks. There's going to be oodles of room under the hood. I mean, we're taking a V12 out, putting a V8 in. It's just a little small block Ford. There's going to be an unbelievable amount of space in there. I could probably put a second small block Ford in front of it. No. For a minute I did think about that, but no, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to drop the grill down, which will in turn drop the center of the hood down. And I don't think I'm going to put the hole in the hood like the Daytona. But what I think I'm going to do is, when you look at the stock hood, it's got a unique little body line here. And I'm actually thinking about cutting it, bringing it up, nothing extreme, just enough to be subtle, bringing it up a couple inches and putting like a 2.5 inch cowl style hood on it. And then I'm thinking the air would blow in through the new grill, in through the red, up over the engine, and kind of out, up over the windshield. Sort of what I'm thinking. Obviously, I'm going to have to extend this hood as well as the fenders. I have roughly considered opening the fenders with the hood. Not 100% sure. The car is going to have leg pipes on it. They are going to come out here. We are going to cut this sill off, and there's a big void in the back of the sill. I think you can see it on one of the other videos. It's quite a big sill. It's quite a large sill. I want to cut this sill off and make it concave versus convex. And then we're going to put the exhaust right in under the door, fixed right into the car. And I'm actually considering doing something a little bit unique there. I'm thinking about putting in like a 2.5-inch regular old aluminized exhaust pipe to about here, and then putting a nice chrome tip on it, one that just comes out like this. We'll cut it off flush. I don't want anything sticking out. You know, I don't want to burn my legs on it. The reason I'm saying I want to go with like a generic exhaust pipe is I can tuck it right in underneath the car, and then I want to wrap it in exhaust wrap. And then I'm thinking about rolling a nice stainless cover that'll simply cover it up. And you will see the chrome exhaust tip coming out, which, like I said, we'll cut it off flush. We don't want it hanging way out or nothing. And then you'll see that nice chrome cover or stainless cover that'll be polished. And I'll space that cover away, you know, like as much as I can. If I can get it an inch away from the pipe, just enough so that it kind of bulges out so you can actually see like there's a, you know, like a nice meaty pipe there. I'm thinking it would make it really unique as well as being a little more practical. When you get out and you rub your leg on it, it's not going to peel the skin off. And, you know, if you take a stainless pipe and you just drive it on the side, like when you jump out, it's going to be hot. I mean, your exhaust is coming straight off the engine. I want to drive this car a bit. My wife's going to be sitting on the other side. If she burns her legs on the pipe, I'll have to crush the car. But seriously, though, I'm thinking that's what I'm doing. So I hope I covered, you know, as much as I could on what the plan is. I am going to draw a picture to show you kind of roughly what I'm thinking. So bear with me. I'm not, you know, it's just going to be a quick drawing. Don't laugh. I'll do my best. As far as the rest of the video, I think what I'll do is after I draw the little picture, we'll have a really close look at this car. I'll bring the camera over and I'll show you what I'm up against for fitting it back together. There was one comment made that, you know, when I was pulling the car together, you guys really couldn't see what was going on. You know, I pulled it apart, put it back together half a dozen times or whatever, and the only thing you could see was where my camera's mounted. So tonight I'll try to get you a better view of what's going on inside and how I plan on tying that back together. So I guess I'll go ahead and do that now and show you what I can. Okay, so I'm going to try drawing this picture out for you. Like I said, don't laugh. I'm just using a hunk of soapstone here. So just going to make it kind of simple here. So this is the car. However the stock Jag was. So something like that. Like I said, don't laugh. I'm doing this with one hand. It's kind of awkward holding the camera. But essentially, you know, this is the four-door car that was there. Okay. So like generally, this was the four-door body. Yes, the drawing's crude. Like I said, don't laugh. I want to cut this off back here. Okay, so we're going to mow that off. We've already taken this whole section out. So what I done was basically I cut the car off right here. Cut the roof off here. That roof is gone. And I cut the car off here. So we eliminated this whole center. Okay? So this little piece of the body is simply brought back ahead. So now it looks something like this. okay, with no roof on it. So right now the roof is here. What I want is to simply go something like this. Okay, I'll put a little spoiler on the back. Okay, then I'll put like a little window here, of course, one that ties in with the door. Generally, that's what I want to do with the back. And like I said, these fenders will be ballooned out a little bit. Don't laugh at my drawing. So, once we sort of shave that car down to give it that kind of a look, the front, which we won't be at the front for a little while, but I want to bring those fenders up. The reason I do is I want to bring them up a little bit, as I want to drop the front end down, because I think it's too much of a brick here. Like it just looks like a phone booth flying through the air. So I think with a 3-inch, fender the fender going up 3 inches, dropping the front down, you're gonna have a 6-inch rake on the front. So I'm thinking it's gonna look a little bit more like a Daytona. I think I'm gonna leave like most of the stock front end, however it ends up being as we extend it. So we'll do that. So now it'll sort of look something like this. That's sort of what I'm going for, a little more proud front end, a little, fastback Daytona style in the back. That's sort of what I'm thinking anyway. It's something generally like that idea. Now to get back to, like I said, another fella mentioned, it was hard to see what was going on in here, so I'm going to show you that tonight. And at the same time I'm showing you this, I'm figuring it out for myself too, right? I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. There's no drawings, no blueprints for this. So what was going on last night? When I was pulling this together, we tacked this plate on last night. And as you see the gap down here? That more or less tells me that this car's got to go up some, or the back's got to tilt down a little bit. So we're going to get, up a little bit. So we need to pinch that at the bottom, make that, nice and flat. I haven't done that yet because I'm still trying this back on. And I think I'm pretty well at the point now where I can tack it. But in here, what I'm picturing, all this space here, is just going to allow that body to do this. I mean, yes, the roof will be on it and it'll be just as strong as it ever was, sort of, because, that hole was there before. It was just 29 inches bigger. But I'm thinking I want to plate this in now, right here. Bang, just like that. Make that one solid chunk. I think that'll make this body unbelievably strong. What I'm picturing is I want to cap this as well as cap this right out here. We'll make this one solid piece, maybe throw in a couple square tubes across this way before we put the door panel back on. Because, face it, the sheet metal we're putting on the side is just for looks, it's just a filler piece. I'd like to make that really solid, make a nice welded joint there. In here, see if I can show you this. I'm thinking about plating this in as well. Like, here's my floor. We'll weld this, and then I think I'm going to plate this in all the way up the pillar, all boxed in back here. There's no reason you need to see that wheel well, or that wheel arch, so I'm thinking about boxing this all in. And basically, with that boxed up here, we'll probably box it in right up to here, and then I'll bring a plate in here and flush that all off. I think that's going to be a really well built structure. I think that's really going to be a nice way to kind of re-engineer the car. Down here on the floor, I mean, other than the gap, which is fine because this is a little higher than this anyway, we're just gonna, we're gonna roll a piece into it. That's a part you're not gonna see. I'm not real fussy about that. I mean, it's just simply gonna be a piece from there to there. It doesn't have to be anything special. It's gonna be under the carpet, and there's gonna be undercoating on the bottom. And I mean, face it, if you see at some point, if you're under my car and you look and you say, hey, I can see where he welded that together. Okay. Yeah, obviously. You can watch the video and see where I cut it apart. So I'm not that concerned about underneath. I mean, yes, we're going to make it look, we're going to make it look as good as I can possibly make it. But over here, you can see that gap, right here. That's because the car is not pulled together yet. And that's what I was saying. I haven't done any critical dimensions yet. I'm still, I'm still looking at grinding things or cutting things, or, I think I'm pretty satisfied now. And another thing that was giving me trouble last night, and I apologize for last night, I never thought about it when I had the camera mounted on the wall, that you guys really couldn't see what I was doing. So here's what I was up against. So I had this piece of the floor still left on, this piece, and it wouldn't fit inside the car. And then I clued in, I don't really need it. So I cut it off, but I left this shape, because now I can weld in here, and I can box this all in, and then I can simply put a floor back down. Now, this frame rail, I haven't decided how I'm going to tie it back in, but here's your mount for your actual subframe. This is a pretty rigid structure. I mean, it's probably like 14 gauge, and it's bent and it's got some shape to it. I'm gonna run some square tube in that, is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna run a piece of square tube under it. I'm thinking I'd like to bring it over here, tie it into here. Excuse me, I'm taking that out. I'm gonna put a new piece in because this one's rusty. The whole floor, obviously, as you can see, is rusty. So it's disappearing. The transmission tunnel is in good shape, so it's staying. But we'll take the whole floor out. We'll take this seat brace out. I'm picturing about running a square tube in here, running a square tube across. That'll make, a nice frame rail boxed all in. I'm thinking maybe about running, maybe like a tube brace up over like that. I think that would make, a really nice boxed frame back here, make the car really strong. And then I'm thinking possibly, since I'm stretching the front, I'm thinking about taking this tube, because this will be a square tube as well, and running a tube from here right up to the front suspension. And, I really think that would kind of almost put a full frame under the car. And I'm sort of thinking that would give me a really nice chassis. And with these sides boxed completely in, the roof welded back down, I really think it's going to be a solid car. So that's what I'm up against. Yeah, so I guess enough of that. Let's start messing around with trying to put this thing together. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, as far as work goes tonight, is we need to jack up this car a little bit. And I'm going to try to do my best to show you what's going on in here. So I know that this here body line needs to line up with this. So I know that car needs to come up a little bit. So I'm going to bring this car up with the jack, and I'm going to shim it because the other side's way low. It's got to come up. So we're going to get it close before we start measuring. My way of looking at things, I mean, you got to get it close before you can even have a chance of making it perfect. So the first thing to do is we'll jack that up so that it lines up, and we'll see if we can take that, that gap away. And then we'll go around the other side and jack up the other side. Okay, so like I said, I want to jack this up just so it lines up a little bit better before we even start to measure. So I am just using my eye to line up the car. Then after that's done, then we'll get into measuring it. You know, I'm going to line up as best I can by eye first. That way, you know, if I line this car up totally by eye and it looks absolutely perfect, the chances of it being close are a lot better than they're just sticking it together and just start pulling tapes and strings on it. You know, I want to make it as close as I can first. That way I can see if I need to fit, trim, anything in there. So that's what I'm up against. That's what I'm trying to do. I mean, right or wrong, you know, who knows, really. We can only do what we can do, and we can only use the knowledge that we have. So I know that needs to go up a bit. And I can even tell you from here that it needs to go about that high, you know, and that's just by looking at it. I mean, I don't know how else you would know. You know, it's hard to pull a tape out on a car and say, yeah, that's where it is. That's why I made these marks. If you guys remember from my previous video, I put marks on the car before I cut it. So I knew that when I cut it, if I refer back to these marks, I know what the measurements should be. And I know I can do my cross check on it. And I can make sure that the top of the body is square, the same as it was before I cut it. So if this car is the same length as it was, and it's square, the wheelbase is the same on both sides, you know, in here, I'll try to show you again on the camera, I'll try to point it out. It just so happens that the seams for like your door rubbers, it just so happens they line back up, you know, like they're bang on. I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. I mean, it's the same door that fits the hole, but down here the car is a little bit narrower. The sill tapered just enough to say it did. The wheel well actually rolls down about 5/8 of an inch. So the back's about 5/8 of an inch narrower than where it is currently, which is fine. That just means that this rusted out part just needs to be cut off and rebuilt. And when it's rebuilt, I'll just make it 5/8 of an inch wider. Saying that, I want to move these fenders anyway, so not really that big of a deal for me. So what I'm getting at, what I'm thinking, if I line these seal lips back up, put a plate on them, make them the same, I get my measurement here, get my measurement over there, and they're the same. I do my diagonal check on my body, and if it's the same, if I check my wheels and they're the same, you know, as far as that goes, cutting the car apart in half, putting it back together, I mean, if it's the right length, if it's straight, and you do a cross check, and what I mean is you check it for square, and it's square, and your wheelbase is the same on both sides, you know, I'm thinking that's it. Again, I don't build cars, but I build enough towers and buildings and oil rigs that, I mean, that's how we build those. I mean, some of those are 152 feet tall, and they've got to be pretty square or they, you know, they lean. So, and that's basically the same logic we use. And like I said, I put these marks on before the car was cut. So if I just simply refer back to the same marks, I'm thinking it should be right. All right, so now that I've got that picked up, like I said, it looks pretty decent. It actually looks just a bit high maybe, which is fine, because I need to put a couple shims under. So I will do that now. bit too thick. Just trying to find the, something that'll work for a shim. Like I said, we're trying to get as close as we can with what we got. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. So like I said, that was just a pinch high, so I'm thinking when everything kind of lets go, it did drop a little bit, so that's good. Yeah, I'm thinking that lines up pretty good. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna put my little door piece back. Get a look at it. I just find that 7-inch grinder so fast for, chopping stuff like that. I just find it so easy to use. So that's why I stick with it, but okay. Looks like the back of the car is going to drop a little bit. Okay, that's starting to look pretty close, really. Door wasn't closed all the way. All right. So now that that's in there, I've got a half a mind to tack that into place, but I don't think I will at the moment, just because I can see the body line doesn't match up 100%. I've got it going good through here, which is easy. And you can see the top of the door isn't the same. It's the same back here, but it's not the same here, which is fine. Once this is tacked, we'll simply just cut the top and just curl it down a little bit so that it matches the door. Just like the bottom wasn't the same. I mean, it's no different. It's just the way the cars are shaped. They're just shaped a bit different. Okay. I'm actually thinking now the front half of the car is actually going to come up a little bit higher in order to make it look proper.
I think that's close.
Okay, so just looking down the body line, it looks, pretty close. And that just goes to show you, I got this stuck together last night just to give me a visual to see what it looked like. Now it becomes a lot more involved. It's a lot of work to put it back together. It's one thing to cut it. See, now our body line's looking really good. So I'm thinking that's about where it needs to be. Down here looks good. Yeah, that's definitely really good. And when you look down the car, it looks pretty damn good, I must say myself. So later on, we'll line it, we'll straight line it and make sure that it's close. It's hard because the car is shaped like this, as well as it's shaped like this. So it's hard to put just say a line on it. But anyway, we're getting there. One step at a time. Yep, we definitely need a little bigger shim. I'm just using scraps that I have for shims, anything I got. anything that'll fit. Sharp, jagged metal, that's the best stuff to use. Jeez, I'm really happy with where that is. I hate to disturb it, but pretty much have to. I need the jack in other places. Hopefully that's enough. Hopefully. Okay, definitely did sink a little bit. I'm thinking that should have lined it up. It needed to go down a little bit. I always jack it up just slightly above. That way when I put my shims under, I know roughly how much they're going to sink. I mean, you run your fingers over that and I mean, you don't even feel that blind line. Same as this one. I mean, this one's much easier to match because that's where it was. I mean, geez, that looks pretty good. Okay, everybody. I went around the other side, jacked it up, messed around with it, played with it. I got the back standing on jack stands, and I've just, I've been adjusting the back end. I've been shimming that up underneath. I just got some blocks under there, and I've just been using sheet metal if I have to, just to bring it up, like even a 32nd at a time, just trying to get that to be exact. So what I was going off of was, I was going off my body line. And so I was going off of here, lining this up. Keep in mind, these doors don't exactly fit that location. They fit this part absolutely perfect. Obviously, that's where they come out of. But the front of the car is actually just a bit wider than the back of the car. So as you see down here, this is about half an inch from here to here that I'll have to build this out. It's pretty flush for the most part. As you see, like the door is not quite the same. Again, absolutely perfect back here because that's where it come out of. Right here, this one's actually got a bend in it, which is unfortunate. I probably bent it by cutting it and dropping it on the floor. So I kind of just tapped it out as best I could, but it is what it is. We'll have to address it, but my body line is lined up perfect. That's the most important thing, really, is to make it look good. You can see the top of the door. You can even see the shine on it. That you can tell the top of the door is pretty close to being correct. Like I said, I mean, the back of the car actually tapers in like this, so those door pieces aren't perfect, but they're pretty close. And the gap's not too bad. It's definitely workable. What I've done to make sure that it's fit absolutely as best as I could make it was, see this one here, this door is just sitting here. So they're, like I said, they're kind of annoying to hold in. I'll have to tack it as I go and work that panel to make that panel fit, which is fine. That's what it's all about. Again, essentially this body line runs right up through. It's great. And same thing down here. I lined this up back to where it was. The most important thing that I did, I think I'm in the right, is I checked it in many spots before I cut it, and I'm going to check it again, and I'm going to try and do it by holding the tape and showing you how I did it. So just as a reference point, we know the body lines line back up because we can see them. but we don't have any concrete information that they're correct, especially panels like this that you can very easily just, manipulate to make however you want fit. So that doesn't necessarily tell you the car is straight. It just tells you that it looks good. So how I made sure of that, I know the roof's cut off in the same spot because I measured it. From there to there is exactly the same length as this from there to there. So I measured from here to here in the same spot, right ahead of this gas filler. I'm going to try and do that now. Just bear with me. Okay. So, right to the bottom, I've got 11 and 5/8, if that'll focus in on the lowest point of the roof. I got 11 and 5/8 from there to just ahead of where the gas cap was. On this side here, I believe I had exactly the same. So again, bear with me here, it's hard to do this all. Okay, if that'll focus for me. It might be 11/16. Okay. So I'm saying that's pretty close. This side being a 16th lower than that side, I mean, that's, Jesus, that's, you're talking bring this up a 32nd, that down a 32nd. How do I know that even just this isn't out a little bit? So I'm saying that that's the best as I can kind of go by. I know that my body lines line up. So therefore, I should have the car pretty good. As you look down it, you can see that it fits really well. So I'm saying that it's good. Now, if you remember from my last video, you remember I made these marks. I measured from here to back here. And what I had was, I had 69 inches. So I should take out 29, which should leave me with 40. So they were both 69 inches when I started. I'll hook my tape in there. Again, I apologize, it's hard to do by yourself. All right, I finally got my tape situated so I can hold it and hold the camera. It's hooked on the pillar, right in line with the top of the door, same as it was before. And look at that. 40 inches. So I was pulling that as tight as I could keep it, and I got 40 inches. We'll go around the other side, and I'll try and do the same. Like I said, it's hard with one hand, but I want to show you as best I can. All right. So I got my tape hooked again. And as you can see, it's 40 inches. Okay? So those marks were made before I cut the car apart. I just stretched my tape out in the same location and marked 69 and 69. I took 29 inches out, now it's 40 and 40. So I got a reasonably good idea that it's the same length on each side. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, this is just just another thing to check. So it's just the more concrete dimensions that you can come up with, the better it's going to be. Versus just stretching the tape on the wheelbase saying, yeah, it's right. You don't technically know if the body's straight, because I can rotate that body. I can make this bumper hit the floor, or I can pick it way up here. The wheelbase isn't going to change. So, that's why I come up with this measurement here, just to help me. And then if you remember, again, I'll try and do this when I'm holding the camera. I hooked my tape right above the door on the pillar. And I come over here and did my cross check. And again, this is going to be This is going to be aggravating to do. Not too bad when you got two hands to help steady it, but... Where's that mark? Okay, so I get 68 3/4. And that, what I'm going to is I'm going to the backbone, I call it, that ridge, and where my line crosses. So I've got 68 3/4. And that was from the top of my door hooked on the pillar. Now, hook back in the same spot. And again, I got 68 3/4. And that's to that ridge and where my line crosses. So, I'm happy with that. And I guess that really is all that matters. I've got within a 1/16 of being the same from here to here. So I know my car is relatively flat. And I also know that from here to here, from here to here is square. I also know that it's exactly the same length from there to there and there to there, or back here. Now that I know the top, like that's telling me the top of the body is straight and square. I'm happy with the way the body lines fit. The last thing I'm gonna check is I'm gonna check this wheelbase. Again, this is gonna be hard to do with one hand. Okay, so I just hooked the wheel. Just trying to keep it pulled tight so the tape don't fall. I was going for 84. And as you see, I've got 83 3/4. So, it is what it is. It's a 1/4 inch shorter than what I thought it would be, but, you know, that's fine. There's no drawing. I wasn't set in stone. My measurements were just simply a guess. Okay, so we're on the passenger side. And again, try and get as square onto that as I can and show you that it's 83 3/4 back to the edge of the wheel, right there. Okay, so what I'm saying is now my wheelbase is 83 3/4, 83 3/4 on the other side. And I did a cross check up here, so I know that I'm square. I know that I'm the right height. To be honest with you, that's enough checking for me. I'm happy with it. So if I'm happy with it, I guess, again, that's really all that matters. Okay, so I'm ready to tack. All right, so after verifying the measurements, I just thought I'd show. I put a few tacks on it, just a couple on each side, just to hold it together for the night, just so I know when I come back out in the morning that, you know, it's not going anywhere. All right, everybody. Well, like I said, I'm a little tired tonight. I'm just glad I got this part done. Thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully I addressed some comments there, and, you know, feel free to comment. I will definitely take any constructive criticism, unless you're an arse. Definitely follow along if you enjoy this stuff. Like I said, I'll try my best to answer your questions or address your comments. All right, well, thanks a lot for watching. Like, share, subscribe. That would be fantastic. And, well, we'll see you tomorrow.